Today we're ranking every Xtc album, worst to best. Last place we have the Big Express. It sounds like generic new wave, and it just sounds generic. There's nothing really to it. It's too layered. And that would be a good thing. There's nothing to grasp past. There's nothing, even though there's so much. Quantity does not mean quality. 5.7 out of 10. Next up we have Wasp Star, Apple Venus Volume 2. I mean, it's the rock songs they had during the Apple Venus sessions, and they did the chamber like pop stuff instead. And there's no reason to it. It's just boring, kind of generic alternative rock and Britpop. 6 out of 10. Next up we have Mummy, which, I think it's a good album. The first 3 tracks are pretty great. Or the first 2, I don't remember. The first 3 or first 2. The rest of the album is kind of them, like what they did on English Settlements, but like worse, and it getting kind of stale. It's basically the album heading towards the Big Express. 7.1 out. Next up is Non-Such, and I've seen people quite liking this one. It feels like they took the psychedelic out of the psychedelic pop rock from Skylarking and Apples and Oranges, and it's also another double album. So it just feels weaker, much weaker. 7.2 out of 10. Next up I have White Music. This one's pretty good. I love the first 5 tracks. I think it's the first 5. Then there's All Along the Watchtower, the cover, which is confusing. And then the album gets weaker. And then Neon Shuffle's great. 7.4 out of 10, confusing. Next album is Go To, which I've seen people call the weakest Xtc album, and I don't know, it feels like a better White Music. Maybe not the first 5 tracks of White Music, but like overall, it just feels better. It's less, it's maybe a little scattered, but it's got more bangers. 7.9 out of 10. Now we're getting into the classic stuff, starting off with Drums and Wires. This is where they take the post-punk from Go To White Music, create some new wave. This is like the one where they like become new wave, you could say. And not fully yet. I'd say that happens like around English Settlements, but it begins you hear the sounds, the punchy drums. It's great. Making Plans for Night will help complicated game, but there are some weaker tracks like here and there, like Real by Real, confusing track in a lot of ways. 8.5 out of 10. Next up we have English Settlement. Double album. This is where they ditch the post-punk sound almost entirely. Coming off of Black Sea with that kind of production style. And it's fantastic, especially for the first like 7 tracks. It does get weaker because it's a double album. But I do think there's a lot of strong material, especially to make an even better like single album. 8.7 out of 10. Next up we have Apples and Oranges. Now this is continuing the psychedelic pop sound of Skylarking, except this time it's a double album, which is why it's weaker and it's less conceptual. Probably it feels maybe a little less complex as Skylarking. Still an excellent album because I love that sound, as you'll see in the ranking later on. It's that way, or it's I don't know. 9.1 out of 10. Next up we have Black Sea 1980. This one is where they changed their production style. It kind of becomes a more new wave album, like having a lot of their post-punk sounds. Like this one feels the most like average post-punk, like would you expect post-punk to be? aside from the first two albums, combined with this new wave sound, like the drum sound, you hear the room in this album. Excellent album. There's only like 3 weak tracks on it. 9.3 out of 10. Now my second favorite Xtc album is it's Apple Venus. It's Apple Venus. I love this chamber pop like sound, like very orchestral. I mean, just from the first track alone, you already know you're getting into something different and something good. And it kind of reminds me of Talk Talk, like even the album artwork itself. Excellent album, like maybe like 2 weak tracks, maybe like 2.5, because I think one of them is like a little, I like the sound, but the lyrics are a little off. 9.4 out of 10. Which brings us to number 1, which is Skylarking. It had to be Skylarking. It's a 9.9 out of 10. I love it. It's got everything. It's got everything. It's basically got everything. You got this pop, you got the psychedelia. I think it's kind of more art pop in some ways. And I love kind of this complex aesthetic. And it's just a really beautiful time and a nice time. Thank you for watching. This is the end of the video. Subscribe.